Morning, everybody, and welcome to the school committee of the town of Foxborough. This is our regular meeting on January 27th, 2020, and we have a full house tonight. Welcome to everybody. We're going to begin with our open public comment period. Is anybody here to speak at open public comment? Okay, seeing no one, we'll move on to the approval of minutes, and we have in front of us the January 6th, 2020 regular meeting minutes. Did anybody have any comments, questions, or changes?
No, that's fine.
I actually had two. Sorry, well, I thought I'd ask first, but under the teaching and learning highlight, we didn't identify the lovely young lady who helped Ms. Pichetti and Ms. McCarthy, and that was Ella, I believe, Ella W.
I have her last.
So if we could add in, just identify Ella, since she did such a phenomenal job.
She sure did.
And then on the back, on page 4, starting on page 3, I had noted that Dr. Berdos and I are attending an MASC school safety presentation this Wednesday, January 29th. Mr. Reuter also stated that he is attending the same seminar, so we should give him credit for attending the seminar as well.
Wait till I do it.
So I actually went back and watched the meeting to see if you mentioned it at that point or after the meeting. It was during the meeting, so it should be in the minutes.
Okay.
Other than that, I'm good. Anyone else? Does anyone want to make a motion?
I would move to accept the minutes of January, whatever that date is, sorry.
6th.
January 6th, 2020.
Thank
As
you,
amended.
Richard.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 500. Thank you. All right, moving on to the much more fun part of our meeting. We have a great teaching and learning highlight. It's Dragon Stories, a digital photography project with Ms. Kelly Arcarcha, Ms. Linda Scotland, Ms. Stephanie O'Keefe, and several FHS and IGO Elementary grade 4 students. Dr. Berdos, you want to lead us in?
Yes. So Mrs. Myers-Packle and I were walking through classrooms, and we walked through Ms. Arcarcha's classroom with her students and saw that they were very busy with these particular projects. And then noticed that there were some younger students that were in their projects. So then we learned from her students about the collaboration project you had going on between high school and the IGO with some amazing stories and digital work. So we're going to learn more from you this evening about that project, and we're really excited to hear from you. So we'll invite you, if you want to bring your chairs right up to the guest table, and we'll have you introduce yourselves. High school students and IGO students. I think Mr. Stanton is back there in the back as well.
I did see him. Yes, he's back there. He's hiding.
Hiding in the back row.
And Mrs.
With a
O'Keefe,
proud smile.
too. Yes, Mr. Stanton and Mrs. O'Keefe. Oh, there she is.
Mrs. Myers-Packle is back there as well.
Absolutely.
So, Kelly, are we turning it over to you, or are we turning? Okay.
We'll introduce them, and then I'll give you a little rundown of this, of how we started the project. And so I'll start with Dakota. Say my name.
Should be a little bit
My
louder,
name is
please, and closer to the mic so everybody can hear.
My name
The
is
mic
Matt.
closer to you.
My
Can move
name-
the mic closer to you.
Yeah, you
There
got
you
it.
go.
Just grab the whole thing.
My name is Matthew. My name's Samantha. My name's Ella. My name's Will.
My name's Grace. My name's Sammy. I'm Maggie.
I'm Mrs. Lorman, Mrs. Scotland. I had my name changed, sorry. I give you a little rundown of the project. Every year, actually you can hold these up so they can see it. We do a dragon project where they have to draw a dragon, but it's more than just drawing it. They have to decide before they start what kind of dragon they're going to make. Where does it live? Is it a water dragon? Is it an air dragon? So they have to make decisions about the dragon before they even start to draw it. And then we work up sketches until we finally get our dragon. After they've done the dragon, I do want to give a big kudos to Mr. Stanton, because he actually puts in my schedule the time for me to meet with the 4th grade and do writing with them, which is absolutely wonderful. So they write it, they go to the computer lab, And then I met with Kelly, and we decided that it would be great to do a project with the high school graphics where they would come in and the students would be the clients. And they would say how they want the dragons. And it's been absolutely wonderful. So they met together, they took pictures of the students, helped them with their poems, and we sort of communicated back and forth. They'd send notes to Mrs. Arcacha, and then I would get the answers and type it back to her. And finally, the end result was they went up to the high school and saw where they made the projects and got to see the final PowerPoint and read their poems. And the PowerPoint's what you're going to see up here. And if you look up there, you'll see that there are pictures of how they actually got the students on the back. On the right, you'll see Matt sort of in a position like he's ready to fly on his dragon. And you can see them communicating with each other.
So high schoolers, do you guys want to explain how you got those positions, like what you did before you took their photos?
Yeah, so we asked them how they wanted to look on their dragon, and then we had them sit on a stool and make it look like they were sitting on the dragon. So then we would then bring it onto the computer on Photoshop and just cut it out.
Cool.
So we're going to show you guys the final products, and then when we get to these artists, they're going to read their poems that go with the dragons.
Excellent.
Grace, can you read the text on this time?
Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, there lived a class of special students who had dragons for pets. A group of talented artists were sent on a journey to interview and photograph these students and their dragons. Here are the never-seen-before photos from their journeys.
Right on.
Ava.
This is great.
Awesome. Nice.
My dragon fights all the scary beasts in the tropical rainforest to have a big feast. His big wings make him the fastest flying in the east. My dragon is an absolute beast.
Nice job, Will. That was great.
Molly.
How many students did dragons?
23.
20. Wow, that's fantastic.
23 from the IGO and 23 partners here at the high school.
That's awesome.
They each had a big poster size
Okay.
of their product to take
Yeah.
it home as well.
Oh, how cool.
Very cool.
Nice.
These came out great.
Yay.
I like that armor.
Great, right?
My magical fire dragon. One hot day, I was walking down a dirt road past a volcano when my big dragon flew down to me. She was a beautiful red and had the most graceful wings. As I hop on her back, I hold onto her spike, feel the wind on my face, and just let go. I almost fall off, but Sammy's wing catches me. I stand up on her wing. It is the best feeling in the world.
Very nice. Great job, Ella.
Lexi.
That's great.
My dragon slides itself into the water. Plop, right to the bottom of the sea, she plunges. As her scales go up and down as she breathes heavily through the sea.
Excellent, Matthew.
Yeah. Coda.
My dragon and I glide through the trees on a beautiful snowy night. The sparkling lake in the forest shimmers below me and my dragon. Along with my sparkling yellow fairy friend, we soar higher. The snowy mountains above sparkle with snow. My dragon and I come to a stop. The short wet grass smells of dew. My dragon and I fly into the midnight sky.
Beautiful.
Oh, Sam. The dragon of ice, dramatically flying above the sky, rogue doing what it wants, artistic with its beautiful colors, gracefully flying through the sky, on point with its perfect precision, never mean won't hurt a fly.
Beautiful.
While reviewing these photos, we were surprised to find the following image, a rare sighting of student teachers.
I have a poem.
There you go.
I feel like if they have to write, I should write too. So mine is called A Co-Teaching Adventure. Up in the sky, amongst the moon and stars, 3 teachers set out on an adventure. They will inspire their students to create. Dragons will be on the move. Words will come pouring out. Backgrounds will appeal like magic. Oh, what an adventure our students have taken.
We are excited to announce that all of our findings and photos will be published in a book that will be exhibited this May at the IGO Art Show.
Oh, that's great.
Excellent.
That's great. Great idea. Very nice.
Fantastic.
Which is going to be on May 7th.
May 7th.
And then a copy of the book is going to be in the IGO library. We're also going to have a copy here at the high school.
Excellent. That's really great.
It's a picture of all the students.
Very nice.
That's nice.
Well, that's a great job. I know. I don't know if I'm more impressed by the artwork or the writing or both. They're all fabulous. And the photography is excellent. Yes.
So each of the students gets their
Wow.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those are gorgeous. Wow. Beautiful.
Great idea.
That's fantastic. I love the collaboration. So maybe each of the 4th graders, could you tell us what your favorite part of this whole project was? We'll start with Will, and then we'll just go down the line.
My favorite part of the project was when the photos, when the
Doing the
photos-
photos? Yeah. What about you, Elle?
I think my favorite part was when we got to actually see like the final results and when we got to like test out all of the cool like effects and stuff. I think my favorite part was when I just spent time with my buddy trying to figure out what I wanted for the dragon. My favorite part was seeing the final results.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite part was meeting my buddy.
And our high school students, what was your favorite part about this project? Maggie, you start.
Having like the client, especially such a creative source of inspiration.
I bet.
It was really fun to like do things very out of the ordinary and things you don't usually do and seeing like their reaction, and it was really cool to
I bet it was fun to share some of the things you've learned. I know you're a senior. What grades are you girls in?
I'm a freshman.
You're a freshman. And a junior, so all different experience levels at high school, but I bet it was fun to share some of your experiences and your knowledge with the younger students.
Yeah.
And what about the two of you?
I really liked just like being creative. Like I got to like know what she liked and stuff and got to know her. It was also really nice to work with this specific project because I remember doing this project in 4th grade with Miss Scotland. I still have my dragon at home.
I have a couple dragons my kids made too, so I get it. We save these
like
things.
being able to do this was just like, it was just really nice to be creative and kind of get a little throwback.
Excellent.
I really liked when they like came here for just like a period, but it was really fun because they got to see like our computers and see the difference of like what we get to work with.
So are you guys going to study art when you get to high school?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely work with Ms. Arkarsha. Cool. Does anybody else have any questions for our panel? Comments?
Did you enjoy picking your backgrounds?
Yeah.
So you all got to pick different settings or try to put your ideas and your thoughts with the setting in the background. Did you enjoy thinking of all the possibilities, and were there a lot of possibilities, or Was it too many, maybe? I don't, did you,
Like,
was it
you
tough to
could-
figure out what to do?
You could basically choose like anything you want.
And the high school kids were amazing, so if they couldn't find something, they like worked relentlessly to build pieces together to make a background. It's incredible. We're blown away. It's amazing.
Anyone else? Mr. Reuter?
Question just for faculty, if you were to advise your colleagues on trying to create more opportunities like this, what would you offer
Yeah.
to them?
Oh, 100%. Encouraging the relationship between these kids and the high school kids was really inspirational, and them seeing what they were capable of is just, it's so inspiring for them to see what they get to look forward to up here. So
It is.
any opportunities, I would highly encourage it.
And you can see, I can notice the difference with my fourth graders, feeling more in control of their work, more independent, more mature, thinking, okay, I can make decisions about things, and I can take the things I create, and I could see the difference.
Yep.
So it was a wonderful experience.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you for coming to share this experience with us. Ms. Arkarsha, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, thank you so much for having us, and I think a big testament, Ms. Scotland mentioned Mr. Stanton, but also Ms. Myers-Packler, having like this time to do these collaborations. I would say to any faculty who wants to do it, not to be scared to do it. Like if you hear opportunities where you can have that vertical alignment with curriculum and with lessons, take it. It makes all the difference. I think this is something that's going to stay with them, that they're always going to remember this lesson.
I would agree with that, definitely.
I was really impressed with your writing and the imagery that you had in your writing and the adjectives and how it really brought everything to life. So really, great writing for fourth graders. Very impressive. Nice job. I'm sure your teachers are very proud of you.
I'm going to look for the book when it's here at the high school library.
Kudos
Thank
to
you
the high
so
school
much.
students for dealing with such tough clients. Amazing.
Yes, no, thank you all for coming.
you.
And you know you don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting. You can go home and do fun things. We have to stay, but you don't have to stay. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Things like that when I was in school. That was wonderful.
That's great.
I mean, that when I was in school.
That's great.
I've been trying to get people to do that.
Trying.
I know. Excellent. You gotta provide the time. Shadow puppets, Bill?
Just
or
take a
staying there
minute
like-
while we clear out. Bye, Mandy.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
I'll
Bye,
probably-
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry.
So all of our teaching and learning highlights have been great so far. I've been impressed with all of them, but this one might actually be my favorite. Although I say that every time, so I don't know.
Well, I think
that was so impressive.
I think it's extra special when you see cross-generational, if you will, but I mean from elementary to high school to see those opportunities, and it does really give them something to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely, most definitely.
Wonderful.
That was great.
Very good.
All right, so the next item on our agenda is, now where did Ms. Myers-Packler go? Is the program of studies. So, okay. All right, well, we'll give Ms. Myers-Packler, there she is, hello. No, we're running a little ahead of schedule, so thank you. We could have moved things around,
Take
but.
care of that in a hurry.
Great, sorry.
So our next item on our agenda is the proposed 2020-2021 FHS Program of Studies with Ms. White, Ms. Myers-Packler, and Ms. Mashornick. Welcome.
Thank you.
Dr. Beardos, do you want to lead us off, or?
Yes, so every year at this time, we bring forward the program of studies. And if there are any changes, many times there might be a new elective or a course offering or something that's changing from a full year course to a half year course and breaking that up based on needs. So they're here with 3 courses they're going to talk about specifically, and then 1 course that's been broken up into 2 semesters.
Okay.
That's right, yeah. So, thank you. Most of our, the program studies is the same as it's been for years. Everything's working well, so why change it? There's a couple tweaks, because we always try to look at what the students are interested in and see how we can put new courses in if needed. So this year, one of the things we did change in the business department, We looked at the accounting, because the enrollment had been down in accounting, so Mr. McCabe came up with an idea of, do half-year courses, because a lot of students don't want to take a whole year of accounting, but a little bit, the half a year would be good, so we broke that down, so we're gonna have accounting as a half year, and that was a late change in here, so that's one of the business changes. Our big change is in the science department. We have a lot of things going on in there. So, Ms. Maternick?
Can I ask you a question
Oh,
about accounting just
absolutely.
before we move on? Sorry,
Yes.
sorry, Ms. Sharnick.
No.
I just had a question whether, so we'll have accounting 1 and then the kids can take accounting 2 if they choose, or they could take accounting 1 as a freshman and then take accounting 2 as a sophomore? It's gonna be split, broken up?
Absolutely, yes. So it's going to be each of them a half a year, and so, yeah, they could take accounting 1 even as a freshman, accounting 2 as a senior.
Right, that's, I
Yeah,
just.
But each half year.
But each a half year. I just wanted to make sure I
Yeah, it's
fully
great.
understood that.
It's a great course for the students to
Yeah.
take, especially if they're thinking of
Oh,
going into
sure.
business. It's
Yeah.
just fitting everything into the schedule,
I
so we're
know.
hoping this will bring up enrollment.
Excellent,
That's up.
thank you. Ms. Masharnik?
Okay, so approximately 5 years ago, we did our vertical review of all of science, and what came out of that was that once we had pushed freshmen all to bio and then let that percolate through so that we had the year that was very big for bio, the year that was very big for chemistry, the year that was very big for physics, that we could then look into adding more electives. And we added one elective 2 years ago in anticipation of students finishing physics, and rather than it be only about a third of students finishing physics as juniors and then being able to take an elective that required physics as a prerequisite, we had that on the table ready to go. And that was our earth and space science, which seems to be going well, and that's a full year elective. But now we're ready to add some more, which had always been the plan once we'd gotten that through. And so we looked at what can we do and what do the kids want to do. And we looked back at our stuff from 5 years ago and we think to ourselves, well, I mean, I remember some of those kids answering those questions, and some of them have now graduated from college. But we did informally talk with the students, then look at what that survey had said, and knew that we needed to add more physical science electives. And we also know that, again, in order to make things fit into schedules, sometimes kids might want to take a little more science, but they don't want to commit to a whole year. And so offering things that were half-year courses would be a good option. And with that in mind, we came up with green chemistry, so they have to have completed chemistry in order to take that, though they don't have to have completed physics yet. Cutting-edge science, which will require biochemistry and physics as prerequisites. And finally, science of war, the one they've all been clamoring about, which also is all 3 basic courses as the prerequisites. And they all take very different looks at what's going on, but we think will appeal to the students. There's a lot of kids that are interested in more chemistry, or so they say, but aren't ready to take AP chemistry, and green chemistry could be a good fit for those students. And we know how successful America at War is as a class here. The question has come up more than once. Why is it that we're not teaching that class when science is kind of driven by these factors? Or at least, why aren't we playing off of that? And so here we are. And finally, cutting edge science was something that came up because people were like, people are always asking, well, what's going on? And the answer is, I'm not sure, but it's not hard to know. And if you were teaching it all the time, it would be easy to answer. And the kids would know answers, and they need to know that to know if they actually want to do science things. And I think that may be the most interesting of the courses, because you could take it in the fall, and you would see 4 different recent journal articles, papers, discoveries. And if you took it in the spring, you would see 4 completely different activities. It will never be the same course twice, even though it should follow the same structure over and over and over again. It's inserting that new, interesting content into the course. And then thinking about all of this half years and making everything work. The environmental science class, for better or for worse, has been a place where students have had either extreme success or they end up in a world of hurt going into second semester of senior year. And so we decided to break that apart in order to make 2 semester-long courses. So it's not actually a meaningfully different course other than we've got what had been the first semester and what had been the second semester separated. It allows us flexibility with the other half-year courses coming in, and it allows students who need to get a credit in science flexibility to take 2 half-year courses in the fall, and then if they aren't successful in one of them, but they've got at least half a credit maybe, and they have an opportunity to fill something in the spring in order to meet those graduation requirements. And I did make an error on this. We had floated all kinds of different names for these, and I had thought we had settled on environmental sustainability and environmental management, but we settled on environmental sustainability and environmental change, which is
rather than management.
Yes. So you could take environmental sustainability and then take green chemistry if you
Sure.
so choose. You wouldn't have to take both
and
halves.
and it doesn't matter which one you take in which order.
Yeah.
You could take
They're not
only
sequential.
environmental change in the spring, or maybe environmental change will be in the fall. That's not one before the other. The content should be relatively standalone. It's being done with project-based learning at this point, which makes it easier to separate out the different topics.
And all of these classes can be taken as honors or CP?
The 3 new ones can all be taken honors or CP. We've left the environmental sciences CP only for now.
I think they all sound exciting. I know 2 kids who would have loved the opportunity to take science of war. You know both my sons, so that sounds very interesting. What do you guys think, our student representatives of the new course offerings in science? Are you intrigued?
Well, yeah. So I take the Earth and Space class currently, and I love it. I think it's a great class. So I just I assume that these will be good too, since that one there worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
And the cutting edge science really caught my ear, where you talked about how you could take it once in it's never going to be the same because science is always changing and technology is too. So that was kind of neat.
Thank you, Chris. Kiara?
We talked about this today in class, all the new ones, and each one of them sounded actually really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm considering taking them for next year.
Excellent. Well, there you go. Does anyone on the committee have questions for our panel?
Can I just ask, maybe I just wanted to relearn something.
Sure.
It looks like there's 3 courses that are prerequisites. You have to have all 3?
That is correct.
Physics, chemistry, and biology?
That is correct. These are meant to be senior electives because prior to our changeover for bio for all freshmen,
Right.
many freshmen took physical science, and then they took biology as sophomores, chemistry as juniors, physics as seniors. And so now we need to give them an offering on the other side, since they're all taking biology as freshmen, chemistry as sophomores, and almost all of them are taking physics as juniors.
So will they have to double up with chemistry and physics? Well, how do they get to 11th grade? How does 11th grader get to take these? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Oh, many students do double up.
That's what I thought, okay.
But it's not because I wouldn't say they should be motivated to double up just to get these in 11th grade, but students who have doubled up could choose to do this.
That's how an
We
11th
don't wanna
grader would get it,
exclude them
to double up.
from
That's what I thought, okay.
taking it until they're seniors if they want to take it when they're juniors. We have, I think it's 13 sophomores this year that are taking both chemistry and physics. Nobody
Yep.
pushed them. It was their idea. We wouldn't want to keep them out of these next year.
That's what I figured. It's
That's
available to them.
95% senior classes.
That's, I figured that, but at least the option's there. If they happen to double up and they want to go heavy science, they can do it.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's great.
Good question.
Create that opportunity for them.
I think that just, it really speaks to the curriculum review cycle too. When you're referencing 5 years ago, we still go back to what were our recommendations, and a big piece from that was offering different electives for students, and particularly having it as a half-year elective. Those students that are doubling up, many of them are wanting to pursue science in college, and so it provides other opportunities for them to take more science classes within their schedule.
And I also think too, just to really give kudos to the science department, And really the whole review process, because this is what does happen, is that it's planned out. They took this very methodically, that we were moving into the bio in the freshman year. What's that gonna look like? It was bio, it was chem heavy, we're gonna need to deal with the physics piece of it. And then we can move these into it. So something that was planned, well planned out, so.
Just can't all be done in 1 year or 2 years. It takes a while.
Can't snap our fingers and make them go back in time to have had bio as freshmen. Doesn't work that way.
This is great. Any other questions? Oh, Brent, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
Please go ahead.
Are the students who you have taking your AP Sciences, the 3 AP Sciences, are they also sampling from the electives, science electives as well?
Yes.
I mean, when
I
you get to
know.
be, go ahead.
Off the top of my head, I only have one of the AP classes in my classroom.
Sure.
And from that group, there are 2 that are taking the Earth and Space elective and 2 that are taking the anatomy elective. And I'm not saying that, like, I didn't go check their schedules before I came in here today. I just know that off the top of my head that they are doubling up even on top of their APs.
And then, just because I'm curious, and I think this is the variety that you already have in here on top of the variety that you're adding is impressive. I'm just more curious than anything. Were there any other courses that your faculty pitched that just didn't make the cut
Well,
this time?
we have a whole back catalog ready to go.
Imagine you do.
I bet they do.
I'm just curious.
So I think there's a big push that we do a marine science course.
Sure.
There's a big push. So there's marine science. There's the biology side of that, and then there's the physical science part of that, which is a lot more chemistry, physics-based, looking at currents and that kind of thing.
Physical
That would be 2 separate.
oceanography.
So yeah, we could do oceanography. I've seen titles for them in other schools that make me think, oh, they called it that to get the kids who want to see whales to come take the class. But then it's all oceanography and currents. There's a meteorology one on the back burner. There's talk about going into Project Lead the Way, which they have at the middle school right now, and possibly extending that up to the high school, but that's going to be a long process, and we're going to have to see what comes out of the curriculum review next year as well before we make further decisions.
Excellent.
Give these a couple years to take hold, then add a few more.
And then just on the flip side of it, as you add more courses and you talk about enrollment and you try to offer a lot of electives to meet students' interests, are there courses that might potentially get phased out or that are potentially on their way out?
I think it's possible that we'll lose interest in something. Right now, everything's got reasonable numbers for the electives to run one full section. Will we lose a full section to one of these? We'll find out when the kids sign up, but maybe we'll just add. I can't speak to what they're gonna do.
Nice.
They have great options, for
They
sure.
certainly do.
They do. They really do. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve this year's 2020-2021 program of studies?
I move to approve the 2020-2021 Foxborough High School Program of Studies as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 500. Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much.
Thanks.
Seeing you. Take care.
Exciting opportunities for our upcoming juniors and seniors next year in science. That's great. Okay, we're a little bit ahead of schedule.
This is good.
So,
That's all right.
next item on our agenda is our FY21 budget public hearing and vote of recommendation. So we'll open our public hearing on our budget discussions and get started. Mr. Yukna?
Well, I guess at this point, after the last 2 meetings, the floor is really open to the school committee on any questions or thoughts or concerns you might have within this budget, or if there's any further clarification you're looking for within the budget itself. Be happy to try to discuss that tonight.
I guess, could we just have a synopsis of what is driving the increase that we have, the $1.380,178.
Well, the majority of it, if not almost all of it, is in our special ed out-of-district placements. We're running with the few adjustments we've been able to make over the course of this budget process, nearly $900,000 in increased out-of-district tuitions, plus another couple $100,000 in transportation for those positions. We do still obviously have COLA increases for our teaching and, well, actually all of our union contracts throughout the district. But that, quite honestly, is amounting to a very small amount in this year's budget. Relative, we're at about $348,000 in payroll increases. We typically run in the $650,000 to $750,000 based on a 2% COLA. With lanes and steps. So it's not being really totally driven by our salary side. We have, as we've noted before, we have level funded all of our expense accounts. So there aren't any increases in any of those. We feel comfortable that we can manage this year with that. So those really are, the two driving forces, union contracts and the out-of-district placements.
Can we just go through one more time the reduction, the additions and subtractions to the staffing issue?
Sure. Actually, if you go
that one
right there.
Yeah, thank you.
So we're holding one position on the elementary level at the IGO. Based on our tuition base, we do have a third grade that's moving up to a fourth grade. That is a larger unit number, but we also are unsure totally at this point with where we will be with our kindergartens. We did have an increased fluctuation last year at both the Taylor and the IGO, and if that sustains, we're going to need, potentially a body to handle that. So that's the only position that obviously we can't tell you factually which way it's going to go, but as we've done in the past, if it doesn't exist, it would be a reduction on our side if it does exist. And it may be, obviously, if there's something else that comes up in the year, whether it's additional tuitions or whatever, that would be a piece there. The Ahern, as we noted before, we had a 2 position reduction last year in the 5th grade because of enrollments. That's now transitioning up, that the 5th graders are moving up to the 6th grade, and the incoming 4th graders to the 5th will have the same basic size as the existing 5th. So we're going to look at a reduction of 2 more full-time bodies. On the staff, as we noted before, those 2 positions currently are long-term subs because we strategically didn't replace retiring people last year knowing that this was coming.
And the enrollments are less in the grade 4 coming up to the current grade 5, which is less than the grade 6. And
the one math position was actually a position that was implemented a few years back, and we're reducing that back out again without having the bodies to support that position. And then the other 4 positions that you're looking at, a .4 tech ed, a .4 world language, .4 art, and a .5 wellness, are all the supplemental courses that go along with those students that are no longer there. So the specials. So as we're moving forward with the fewer classrooms and homerooms, we have fewer sections to be able to push out into those areas. On the high school level, the .4 nurse we have actually in place today as a long-term sub, but that's based on the need of the students that we have up here and the making sure we have safe coverage. We have 1 reduction in a math, which currently has 10 teaching positions. Most of our core teaching positions on the high school level have 9, so that's a reduction back there. A .2 art, we're actually making a multiple change there. There's our VHS, which is we have to, in order to be in that program, actually have to have a teaching position.
Virtual high school.
Right, and so that currently is being taught by somebody who's on the art side. We are going to actually swing that and teach that out of our music side. Okay. So we're putting more onus on the music department to be able to handle that .2. But we're going to, out of the art side, we're going to pull .2 out overall. The .4 on the health and wellness, .4 on world language, and .2 on tech ed, again, are all based on the total enrollments that we have. We are under the 800 number on the high school level, and we're looking for obviously a continued drop because of what's coming up through the middle school.
So it's not going to affect the quality of education or really the class sizes that we're anticipating? It is based on
no,
decreased
absolutely, no.
enrollment.
It's all based on decreased enrollment. Now, that being said, there's, is there a possibility, you saw the course, catalog here, so 3 kids sign up for a single course, are you going to run the course for 3 kids? The option is probably not.
And that's always been the way
That's
it
always-
has
that's
been.
always the
We have
case.
classes that,
Right.
if kids don't sign up for them, they don't run. English classes, math classes.
Right. So, that's just the reality, but again, with our being reactive to the enrollments that we have, this is a reasonable assumption. However, on the other side of it, as we've also said, even though our out-of-district enrollments, our out-of-district costs for special ed is going up, we have been very successful. We have over 89 kids right now that are in our in-house programs that are developed to basically be able to service the kids within their own community and with like kids that we can support. And we have, the ability, we think, to retain some more of those within the program if we make these following moves, and that was to add the one teacher on the therapeutic program side and one on the language side, which the therapeutic would be on the elementary and the language would be on the middle school, and then to also have one added assistant in that program as well. So those are strategic moves being made to basically not only support the budget, but to support the children that are within here and keep them within our programs and continue to build strong programs for the special needs students as well as our regular ed.
Thank you for that summary. Dr. Berdos, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I just think that when we're, under the special education conversation there and being able to provide programs for our students, you'll hear in my quarterly update from Biko where they've increased in the number of requests for out-of-district placements for them has gone up by 37%.
Really?
And
Really?
they're seeing it, other collaboratives are seeing that. So we're doing the best that we can, again, as Bill said, because we want to be able to hold our students in our own community if we can best support their needs. That's not always the case. So it really is very individualized, what's best for each student. And if we can have them stay within our community, that's wonderful, and we want to be able to have programs that are going to support students, because you do have the other costs that are incurred, such as transportation, in addition to just tuition. The other piece is the enrollment part, in that we've had declining enrollment over the number of years, and it's been at the elementary level, and we're now starting to see that at the secondary level. It's going to swing, but we have to respond with each year to what our enrollment is telling us, and knowing that it's going to ebb and flow over the years.
Yeah, and let me add to that. I mean, we obviously track enrollments for years, and one of our enrollments goes back 40 years. The town has had what I'll call a continual roller coaster in enrollments. From 1980 to 1989, we had a high year in that span of just over 3,100 students, and we had a low year of 2,400 students.
Wow.
In the next 10 years, it went to 2,900 as a high and down to 2,400 as a low. In 2000 to 2010, 3,000 was the high, and only 2,800 was the low there. And we're in the 10-year period now where 2,800 is the high, and right now we're at the low at 25. So, it's a very cyclical events when you look at communities on how they're going up and down, and it's really based on, obviously families moving and changing and stuff. So we're not in anything unusual, but we have to be reactive to what we're actually seeing here. And so this, those are kinds of information we see. The other thing I wanted to kind of add, there was a study on the business groups listserv, which is a open forum basically for all people in my position. And one of the people had asked what people were seeing in their out-of-district placements as compared to their overall enrollments, and which was good. So I just kind of tracked what everybody was saying, and got a number of communities that did it. We're basically at 2,587 in total enrollment with what we're projecting as a 39 out-of-district next year. We're at like 1.5%. The average for all the towns that I had was 1.7%. So we are basically not seeing anything that anybody else isn't seeing at the same time. You know, at 39, it's very costly, obviously, for us, but there are communities out there, you know, with 200, 145, you know, much larger communities, but obviously the cost doesn't get any less.
Well, and there are communities out there that are pushing over 2%.
Yes.
2% of the revenue that is outplacement.
Yeah, I think the high that I saw on this small list, which was only, you know, less than 20, was 2.2 percent. But that's a fairly large amount when you look at an overall budget. So I guess my point there, though, is this is not unusual. Foxborough is not seeing something that everybody else isn't seeing.
We're not an outlier.
Right, and conversely, we're right in the middle of the pack, so it's kind of that way. But again, I kind of credit the fact that we're on the lower end of the average of 1.7 versus 1.5 that we are, because of those additional programs we have internally. I
We
think
have
that's
had
critical.
success in bringing students that have been tuitioned out back to our
Absolutely,
district and
absolutely.
having.
I think most parents want that to happen
Yes.
once we can, you know, basically continue to meet the needs of the child to bring him back. So,
That's always the
you know, we need to obviously prove that, but we also, you know, sometimes it's just that the child needs a little bit of additional support that we can't give them, and then once they get
that
over that
time.
hump, they can come back into a program that can then support them. So, you know, I really look at the, you know, the overall special ed cost as a one of those, you know, issues and concerns that you have to follow and you have to be on top of. But it is one of those things that will ebb and flow too, based on, you know, the student's base that comes in.
Thank you. Have questions?
Well, I was going to say, what I'm pleased about this presentation and the whole budget, I think it's very responsible budgeting. I certainly appreciate the challenge of reducing by 0.4s and 0.2s, and that happens. It's always a challenge for a principal and a school to do that. But from the standpoint of a budgeting with the needs that we have, with some of these outplacements that are coming our way, with the actual enrollments, we're budgeting the actual enrollments. We're not holding on to 0.4s and 0.4s and 0.4s. We're budgeting according to the enrollments that are being dealt to us. And that is responsible budgeting, and that is a takeaway that the town needs to hear. That we're responsibly staffing with the students that are in front of us and dealing with the circumstances that we have. I think the other piece that I think you said, and I'm repeating what you said, but you talked about how many students we've brought back into the district, and we've put programs together in these 3 people. That's huge. If we weren't doing that and still asking for outplacement money, then I think that would be irresponsible.
Yes.
But we're setting up thoughtful, intelligent, and real deep programming for what parents want to come back to the district. And we're doing it to a very high level. And that's critically important. So when you put this responsible budgeting with intelligent programming for kids to stay in the district with a true challenge of out-of-district placement, it's very fair. And I think it shows great justification for what we're asking for. So I think when you put the whole package and think of it all together, I'm pleased, and thank you. Thank you for putting it together in a thoughtful and really detailed way to really represent what it is, especially since we're asking for something kind of special here. So thank you.
Well said.
I would like to piggyback on some of the things that you've said and say that from the various districts that I've worked in, I would say that you're more responsive to enrollment changes than many districts I've worked in terms of paying attention to 0.2s and 0.4s. And it's difficult from a staffing standpoint, but it's net responsible to the town and overall to students. And so I, again, echo the thank you for that, because it's not easy when you're looking to move in 0.2s and 0.3s. And just as Dr. Berdos and Dr. Mello said in the past, you went through a similar transition in the elementaries, where when enrollment shifts bubbles started coming through, maybe people were moving grades, and that was new for them, but they've adjusted. And many would argue that it's actually been a net gain for curriculum and vertical alignment and things of that nature, and so they will adjust. Secondly, Bill, I appreciate the numbers on enrollment, because there's a temptation when you look at changes from year to year, and we're going to reduce a few teachers here, or special ed's going up here and enrollment's going down. Oh, why? Does this bode well or ill for our town? And it's nice to take the long view and just say that when you live in a healthy town, there are cyclical enrollment changes, and that's what I'm seeing in the long view, if I'm interpreting what you're saying the same way that you are. And then third, you know, there's a concern when you say, well, we're going to cut back on some staff here due to enrollment, that perhaps you'll see less breadth and depth in the program of studies. And it's nice and timely that you married this meeting tonight with the program of studies, because we're seeing actually an increase in some of the electives that are offered. And so that was my concern initially in looking at the budget, but you've managed to keep the program of studies with a lot of variety of depth and breadth, while even still enriching it further. The last point I'd like to make, and maybe I'm not necessarily the one to make it, but for this isn't necessarily for this committee, but for people viewing at home or for AdCom, which I know comes next, and town meeting after that, that this is a multi-month process. Yeah. And I think it's helpful that I like in your original packet that you laid out kind of our budget timeline, that we first started talking about these. You all started talking about it way before and working with selectmen and looking at student needs and projections. But back on, I believe our first was December 2nd was the first time we met, and this is our fourth time meeting on this. And I think it's just important for folks who are here and folks at home to know that, how seriously we take it, and that it gets looked under the microscope every week.
I think this, I mean, obviously there's a larger breadth of positions that we're doing this year, but I think it's also important. 2 years ago, we did a similar change on the high school level with an English position and reduced down one. Again, they had 10 sections, 10 teachers at the time, and that was a little easier. We did have someone retiring, but, you know, again, we didn't have the enrollments. We didn't see the long-term support for those enrollments, and we actually went from the 10 down to the 9. So we've been doing this kind of like on a standard slide. It doesn't show up as maybe so, you know, poignant when you're doing one person here or one person there, but when obviously you have all these positions, and to your point on being percentages of a position, which is tough. And we know that's going to, quite honestly, that's going to occupy us from the time that this budget gets approved and sent forward through the end of the year. We can't wait for town meeting. We're going to have to make a lot of moves just so that we can know that we've actually gotten to a staff position for next year's beginning of school, because it does involve a lot of people having options within the positions. So this is just the beginning of what the work that's going to have to be done on the administrative side to make this work.
When we'd already proceeded with the start of our public meeting, I wanted to acknowledge that a couple of our advisory committee members had come in. I wanted to apologize to you because we were running a little ahead of schedule, and we did start our public meeting a few minutes early. So if there are any questions that you have for us, please feel free to come up to the table if you have anything, if you want to introduce yourselves.
I know many of you. My name's Jack Martin.
Hi, Jack.
And Sharon, why don't you come up here too?
Hi, Sharon. Thank you for coming, both of you.
So we're running a bit behind schedule on the advisory committee. Normally, we get our budget books at the beginning of January. We just got them.
Okay.
So, and so I was asked to be on the school subcommittee last week.
Well, we're happy to have you.
So I think what Sharon and I would like to do would be to get together with, is it Bill? Would you be the best person?
It would probably be Dr. Burrows and myself.
In some fashion, the two of us get together with you and spend some time going over it in more detail, and we're going to get in a public hearing. So,
Jack, we're supposed to present at the advisory committee next Wednesday, the school department. So are you going to try to meet with Bill and Amy prior to that meeting?
I would like to have an understanding before that meeting, yes.
That was our hope.
Yep.
Because as Jack said, we got everything. We got assignments last minute, and so that's why we're at this point. So if we can meet with you prior to next Wednesday, that would be great.
We'll make that work.
So,
I know they'll make it work.
Yeah, I mean,
and if I can help, I'm happy to be present.
We'll find a way to get it done.
Okay.
And so before the meeting, I guess, well, this coming Wednesday, we have a different group.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And then
it's
ours
a
is
week
the
from.
following Monday?
Ours is next Wednesday, a week from Wednesday.
9 days.
The, February 5th at, I
Yeah.
believe, 7 o'clock? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. And usually the school department is the only department that's presenting typically at advisory committee, but I don't know
It's
that.
approximately roughly half
Yeah.
the budget. So
Right,
that
yes,
sort of makes
exactly.
sense.
Hit the nail right on the head there, Jack. So that's, I guess that would, we'll get together with you. We are gonna vote tonight because we have to vote by, as you know, by January 31st. So we won't have another meeting before January 31st, so we will be voting our school committee vote and recommendation
Yeah,
tonight.
and the reason the two of us are here tonight more is just to listen.
Absolutely.
You have to start somewhere.
Okay,
Okay.
well, thank you both for coming and listening, and we'll figure something out before Wednesday evening. Okay? I'm gonna leave that to the two of you to schedule, and if I can help be there, or if our budget subcommittee can participate, that'll be great. All right?
And I'd just like to say that based on the comments that were made, I appreciate you understanding that it is difficult when you have a .4 or a .2 or even a full-time FTE, because it's personal.
Yeah.
And we're responding to the numbers that we have in front of us and being fiscally responsible. But it is hard, and we've not seen that in Foxborough. Many of us have been in other districts, and we've seen that in other districts, but we've not really experienced it here, or it's been through attrition through a retirement, so it has not impacted someone personally. And so that is hard. There's no question, it is. But at the same time, as the elementary has, as you were pointing out, moved grades, and we've reduced classes over the years at different times at the elementary level, those are our same students, and those are the students that are moving up to the secondary level, and we need to be responsive, as we are responsible, obviously, to you and to the taxpayers here. But it is not easy. No. But again, it is something that every year we are line by line with our budget. We look at that, and I think that we are very thorough with that, and we're very responsive, and that's what we need. That's what we need to do. And so I do appreciate the comments that were made, being that it is the school committee's budget to vote, but to know that that insight is there, in all the meetings that we've had.
Rob, anything? Okay. Is there anything else you want to add? Are we ready to vote on this year's budget? What is do we have the precise budget amount? I know what it is, but if we can put it up on the screen so that we get it correct. Thank you.
Because we're voting we're motioning the line item? Or the
No,
entire
the
thing?
whole budget,
Thank you. That's,
the entire number.
Thank you.
So that's the increase, but the,
I'd like to make a motion.
hang on,
Oh.
Beth. Let's just make sure we have the exact amount. Correct.
So the total budget, salaries and expenses, $37,499,121.
Yep.
Say it again. 37.
$37,499,121.
So moved.
37,499,000.
That's a short. 121.
121.
That's what we're budgeting, bringing
That is the
forward?
total budget amount
'Cause you
for
gotta do the
salaries and operating
That's not it.
expenses.
You passed, it was back up. Keep going, one more. Keep going.
One more.
There you go, right there. Ah,
Yeah, that was the one.
Right there.
I got it.
The mouse isn't as cooperative when you're doing the rolly part versus the clicking part.
Is that the right one?
Right there.
Excellent,
Yes.
thank you.
Red circle wasn't there, so thank you for using your pointer.
Debbie, did
Thanks.
you want to make that motion?
It's a good thing I didn't have dry
I would like
erase.
to
I would have
make a
written.
motion that we request $37,499,121 for the FY21 request to be sent forward to the advisory committee.
Second.
In town meeting.
And hopefully they will recommend that to the town meeting.
Well, that's
To bring
This
whether
is
they
what
do or
we're
not.
bringing
Yeah,
forward
this-
to town meeting.
Yes, okay.
Hopefully,
Yeah, hope
the
it's-
advisory committee will
This will go to
concur.
town meeting.
But, yeah,
Yes.
this is
Basically,
our
this
amount.
is your budget that
Yes.
you
This
put
is our
forward.
budget
Yes.
that we are bringing
Yes.
forward
The town
for
meeting.
town meeting in May.
Correct.
Would anyone like to second that motion?
Second. You did.
Oh,
Brent
you
did.
did you,
Brent
Brent? Sorry, I didn't hear that. Is there
I
any,
think we had a few seconds.
well, that's good. Any further discussion on this? All right. All those in favor of bringing forward our budget request in the amount of $37,499,121? It's 500. Okay, thank you for all your hard work. That concludes the public hearing on the budget, but we are now taking up the approval of the FY21 capital improvement plan, which we did discuss at length during our last meeting, but let's just briefly go through the items in the plan. Please.
5 items are standard in the order that we basically prioritize them. First one is $200,000 for computer hardware, software, network upgrades, and infrastructure. The second one is for 2 full-size school buses at a total of $161,000 net of trade-ins. Third is a 30-passenger minibus for $82,500. $40,000 for copiers, replacements, which is a cycle purchase that we do. And then the fourth one is a first year of a multi-year request for music department equipment at $75,000. That's a new one as far as an annual ask, and quite honestly, I think you saw the list that makes up the $75,000.
Right.
There was a $18,000 safety item in there. So, as typical to the CIP process, this number can be, adjusted by CIP based on the needs of the other town side, and so it can go anywhere from 0 to 75,000 in that request area. But we would really hope for strong support on the first 4.
Any questions or discussion on these items?
I believe our presentation last meeting was very thorough.
It
but
was.
I'll say thank you for having a deep and ongoing list and continuing to put stuff in revolving as opposed to a single ask,
Right.
especially in regards to the thought that went into the music equipment breakdown.
Absolutely. And we're going to bring forward the prioritized list within that $75,000 request, starting with those risers, which was a safety item, and then Ms. Tadoldi was going to give her prioritized list of instruments that needed to be replaced.
Within that.
Within that.
Right. And then can I just point a clarification?
By all
What's
means.
the timeline on CIP in terms of next moves?
Once we approve this, the
Yes.
CIP committee.
It will go to the CIP meeting, which is
March.
March, usually the first
March.
weekend in March.
Yes, I'm not
About
sure what the
that.
actual date is this
I can
year.
tell you.
And they'll make their recommendation coming out of there, which then goes back to the AdCom and Board of Selectmen.
And then to town meeting after.
Right.
That's
March
right.
7th.
Thank you.
March 7th.
Yep.
Last year's CIP meeting was televised, I
Yes,
believe,
yeah,
which was
it was
great.
at,
and
Town Hall.
Involved more people in the process.
That's
gave
the
people-
first time it was televised, isn't it?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, I think people wanted
So
to
that
hear
was
more
good.
about it.
Yeah.
Which is good.
It's an excellent process, and I appreciate having the, sort of the 5-year, the one you gave us last year, the 5-year plan for what we're doing, and I know I've seen it, when I was on the advisory committee for the 5-year plan for all the departments. I think it's a
Yes.
really involved process in budgeting, and, it's fascinating, actually, how it's all worked out within the capital requests throughout the town, so. Okay.
I was going to add that I'm a very strong advocate for the music
Yeah.
department equipment. It's a multi-year purchase, as you've identified, and those things are going to last for years, too. So I know you have to go to the CIP, but those are things that just have to happen in order to maintain what we have. Without many of those items from this year and even next year going forward, those are really critical pieces. So I hope we can pull it off for them as well, too.
As evidenced by their 20 and 30 years old.
I was just going to say that. I couldn't
Like-
believe how old that they
Right.
were.
Yeah.
But they've been maintaining these for
I'm sure they do.
3
and-
decades.
And I'm very confident our musicians maintain them because they have a high level.
Right.
And this is not an average music program, far from it.
True
So,
statement.
it's an easy ask for me.
Okay. would you like to make a motion? If
I'd like
there's
to make
any
a,
no further discussion?
I'd like to make a motion that we move forward the CIP request of $558,000 and $558,500.
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the FY21 CIP request as presented? That's 500. Thank you. All right, moving on. Thank you again to Mr. Yukna and Dr. Berdos and Dr. Mello and our budget subcommittee for all of their hard work. And
thank you.
as Brent pointed out, this is the 4th meeting that we have discussed these items. So, and in between that, I know I've peppered Mr. Yukna with lots of questions, as I'm sure the rest of the committee has as well, to have a deep understanding of all of the items we just voted on. And I can say I haven't received any phone calls or thoughts on the budget from anybody, which I mean, other than I did see one letter to the editor in the newspaper last week, but other than that, I haven't seen a whole lot of discussion. So, for what it's worth. I don't know about any other committee members. Have you heard anything? Talked to anybody? Okay. Moving on from budget items to policy. We've got our second reading of policy EEA, student transportation. Would anyone like to make a motion to waive the reading?
I'd like to make a motion to waive the second reading of this policy.
You know, we were just getting good at it too.
Well, you haven't.
Yeah, we had it down last week.
You can downvote it.
Opportunity to read the next.
No, I'm fine.
Would anyone like to second Bevy's motion?
Second.
Thank you. Any
for you.
further discussion? No. Motion to, all those in favor of
Waive.
waiving the reading? Okay, 500. Thank you. Okay, so we discussed this at length last time, and I think it's a very thorough treatment of our student transportation policy. Is there anything you would like to add before we?
I think that a lot of time on our subcommittee went into this, and I know that we had some visitors early on, and
the school year.
in the school year, at the beginning of the school year with the policy, and in speaking with them too, after sharing the policy with them, they were appreciative of what we had changed within the policy, what we had added within the policy. I particularly like the fact that what's at the very beginning is about safety, and it's the sections and how you've reorganized the policy. I think it makes it much more user-friendly, and it's also more specific, particularly when we think about our youngest students, our kindergartners that are being transported.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the student transportation file EEA?
I would make a motion that we approve the student transportation policy file EEA as presented to us tonight.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 500, and many, many thanks to
Yes,
the
thank
policy
you.
subcommittee for all of your work on this.
Absolutely, thank you.
And our next item up is another policy matter. It's the first reading of policy IMGA, assistance animals, which will be a new policy. And who would like to lead us into this? Do you want to give us an overview of?
I will start, and I might actually call on Mr. Stanton, who happens to still be here, in case he wanted to add anything to this, because I think that he has been really instrumental behind the work of this policy, bringing it forward, because of his work and all that he's done, even within the IGO school. So one of the things that many school districts have now are therapy dogs, and they have been used, whether it's the school resource officer that has the therapy dog that brings through schools, or sometimes it's a school nurse. It's always a trained handler. And it's been something that has proved to really be a wonderful resource to students and staff and communities, actually. We do not currently have a policy to be able to have a therapy dog animal visit our schools. We have had them on occasion on things like midterms, because we have a service dog policy currently, which is very different from this policy. But this would provide an opportunity for us to have, on a more regular basis, a therapy assistance animal to be able to serve our students in a way that really can make a great difference in programs and just the lives of students. And Mr. Stanton, do you want to add a little bit, because I know you've got some experience with therapy animals and some of the benefits.
Sure. The combination, I think, of anecdotal but also research-based impact of the service animals, my experience in talking with colleagues in different districts where they utilize dogs. So at IGO school, what we hope to do is to be able to pilot a program for the district. This is something that all my principal colleagues and all 5 of us are eager to do. We see the benefits of it. And it really, seeing firsthand, having a certified dog work with the students, but also too, there's a benefit for the adults as well. Just instantly creating that environment. Also being able to help students who have trouble connecting with others. Sometimes there's some situations where students become escalated, and as adults, sometimes we try to do too much verbal interaction with them. Therapy dog is a safe, friendly way to do that. At IGO school, we had Maddie, who, if this policy is approved, he's a black lab, who was trained at the Norfolk prison. He was actually originally trained to work with a disabled person. He was trained to pick up forks and spoons if anything happened to drop, open doors. He understands commands left and right. But ironically, Maddie had a drinking problem. He liked to drink a lot of water. He couldn't turn off, so he required to go to the bathroom a lot. So Maddie was fully adopted by his host weekend family, and he was subsequently trained to be a therapy dog. So it's a great story for perseverance that we can actually connect with Maddie's story about that. And Ms. Siddle, our school counselor, has already started lessons on how to interact with Maddie, all the way from the small parts where we don't want to overwhelm the dog. The dog's here working, how to pat the dog, how to ask permission. As a staff, the owner and Maddie came to a faculty meeting in December where we got to meet Maddie and ask some questions and learn about his history and some of the benefits of the therapy dog. I know this policy is a little bit more than that, where it gives us a little bit more leeway with animal based, but so we're excited by the opportunity, the potential opportunity to have that in all of our schools, not just IGO. IGO is just looking to pilot it this year, but eventually have it in the district.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, and eventually there's also grant opportunities through the DA's office. The police department is very interested in having one of our SROs to be a host handler for a therapy dog. But there's other costs that are associated with that, as far as cruisers being able to have a therapy dog or a dog period. So it's one of those things that's we're trying to plan for the future at the same time.
The Norfolk County DAs, there's been some publicity the last couple days about giving school resource officers grants for dogs, and I think that is part of it. The cost associated with an additional cruiser for a canine is something that impacted our ability to pursue that currently. So we're planning for the future.
Yeah, because Chief Grace was very interested in pursuing that.
Yeah, and it's something that we're definitely considering. So this policy on assistance animals will put in place the right framework to bring this on board. Right. And then we can work out the specific details. It's a broader policy for, what's coming next.
Correct. The beginning of very thoughtful planning to be able to think about, well, what would this involve, and to think about training and all of the other things that would be associated, allergies, and working with our nursing and our health staff, and to make sure that all of those safeguards are in place.
Well, the Foxborough High School has had success during exam periods where they have had dogs in the media center. And if students are experiencing extreme stress, they have come down and been able to sit or pat with the dog for a while, and has de-escalated. Were you aware of that?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful
So what we have done so far, without having a more focused therapy dog session, has worked successfully for us already. So I think we're moving forward from a positive point of view.
Yeah, I definitely think though, if it's something that's happening on a daily basis, we
Right,
need
that's
to
a-
have
that's a one
policy. I mean,
day
as opposed to
occurrence.
a visit.
Right, for a couple of hours, and that's all
so,
that's
I
but-
mean, the fact that it has proven successful, I think, stands us in good stead to bring this forward.
I agree. Who would like to start with the first reading of the assistance animals
I think
draft
Brent
policy?
should, because he was so disappointed he couldn't read the other. I usurped his
No, good
privilege
deed.
of reading the other.
Well, it's quite long, so there's plenty
around.
plenty for both of you to read.
Switch off.
We can switch off my section now. I was just gonna say to the committee, because Brent and I did do some work on this.
Did a lot of work
It was
on it.
already well stated that this is to put together just a foundation to stand upon, right?
Right.
So some to start out to say, here's what it is, here's how it's defined.
Yeah.
Some requirements, and then, kind of really only about 6 or 7 procedures and standards
Right.
to set the bar.
Yeah.
So as you read this, hopefully you'll be able to see it as a base and a foundation to let us make the next decision making. And that was the intent of our structure of this. Would you agree?
Yes.
How we put it together. To
The
say
program
what
to
it
grow
is,
into.
And here's some building blocks to hold it.
Excellent.
And this is what you have. So that
Thank
was
you.
our intent.
Thank you for the context.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll begin. Draft policy IMGA, assistance animals. The Foxborough Public Schools supports the use of animal-assisted therapy, AAT, for the benefit of its students, subject to the conditions of this policy. Assistance animals certified with their certified owners and handlers as provide, emotional and physical support in the educational setting. First section, AAT defined. A goal-directed intervention in which an animal that meets specific criteria is an integral part of the treatment process. AAT is a therapeutic interaction directed or delivered by a health and human service professional with specialized expertise within the scope of practice of his/her profession. AAT is designed to promote improvement in human physical, social, emotional, and cognitive functioning. Cognitive functioning refers to the thinking and intellectual skills. All certified assistance animals in the Foxborough Public Schools work to support and positively influence student achievement. Benefits from working or visiting with assistance animal include improved social skills, promotion of positive behavior, increased student engagement, improved attendance, reduced stress, improved physical and emotional well-being, low blood pressure, decreased anxiety, improved self-esteem, and normalization of the environment, increasing the likelihood of a successful academic achievement by the student. Examples of activities that students may engage in with an assistance animal include petting and or hugging the animal, speaking to the animal, giving the animal simple commands that the animal is trained to respond to, and reading to the animal.
Certification requirements. The handler animal team must be handler animal team member agency has validated that their specific AAT program requires a temperament evaluation for all participating animals, and this handler animal team passed the evaluation. Handler must provide proof of insurance that their therapy animal agency is carrying the handler animal team on their liability insurance. Want me to keep going?
Sure.
Definitions. An assistance animal is an animal that has been individually trained, evaluated, and registered with his or her handler to provide animal-assisted activities and animal-assisted interactions within a school or other facility. Skip the page. Assistant animals do not meet the definition of service animals under the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA. Assistance animals in the Foxborough Public Schools are not family pets that have been certified as pet therapy animals. The handler is an individual school district staff member or volunteer who has been individually trained, evaluated, and registered with the assistance animal to provide animal-assisted activities and animal-assisted interactions within a school or other facility. The handler will assume full responsibility for the assistant animal's care, behavior, and suitability for interacting with students and others in the school while the assistant animal is on school district property. The superintendent shall approve and designate the handler. Assistance animals are personal property of the handler and not owned by the school district. And the final section here in this area is animal-assisted activities and animal-assisted interactions are non-goal-driven interactions where the specific content of the visit is spontaneous and is meant to provide motivational, educational, and/or recreational activities that enhance the quality of life.
Standards and procedures. Number 1, request approval. The superintendent may approve at their sole discretion any request to have an assistance animal on school district property. Such approval may be suspended, curtailed, or rescinded at any time for any reason at the sole discretion of the superintendent. Capital. Once a superintendent or superintendent's designee approves the request, a plan for animal visits shall be developed with the principal or principal's designee. The superintendent reserves the right to restrict or prohibit specific species or varieties of assistance animals. Number 2, training and registration. The handler shall submit proof of registration as an assistance animal handler with each assistance animal handler intends to bring to the school district. Such registration shall be from a recognized district-approved agency such as the National Education for Assistance Animal Services, Inc., or NEEDS, or other such assistance animal registering organization as determined by the superintendent. 3, health and vaccination. The handler shall ensure the assistance animal receives all medical necessities, including up-to-date vaccinations, and shall submit documentation that the animal is in good health and has been immunized against diseases common to animals. Number 4, disposition. Assistance animals should show no signs of aggression. School officials will immediately suspend privileges in the event that the animal shows signs of aggression, such as biting, growling, etc. Animals should not bark or otherwise create a disturbance or distractions in the educational environment. 5, insurance. The town of Foxborough shall maintain an insurance policy that provides liability coverage for the work of the handler and assistance animal while on school district property. The handler is responsible for maintaining appropriate insurance covering the assistance animal while not on school district property. 6, license. The handler shall properly license the animal with the appropriate municipality. 7, ownership. The handler is the sole owner of the assistance animal and is solely responsible for the animal. The town of Foxborough is only liable for the animal's actions when it is acting as an agent of the school, similar to regular employees.
Review of professional school assistance animal guidelines and procedures. The AAT policy will be reviewed annually with staff and students.
Excellent.
District employees will not receive any additional pay, stipend, or compensation for providing the assistance animal or for being the handler and/or the owner of the assistance animal. The supervision and care of the approved assistance animal is solely the responsibility of the handlers when the animal is on campus. This policy is not intended to and does not allow students, parents, or staff to bring emotional support animals onto the Foxborough Public Schools campus. Individuals cannot bring an assistant animal onto the district campus that does not meet the definition of a service animal under this policy. Adopted whenever.
Some typos. Thank you.
The past 2 years at the conference on the Cape, a woman named Sally Cragen has offered workshops, and she has brought therapy dogs and therapy cats to this and explained her whole program. So if anybody would want, have you had any experiment in the school so far? No. Well, if you're interested, she would be an excellent person. She's running it out in the western part of the state. But I could contact her if you want more specific information about how she gets the people and how they're trained. But it's very carefully run and very, very successful. Of course, I go because I need the animals after all that workshops.
So I think there's one edit that I have, and it happened right in the very last sentence. I picked it up too, and I probably missed it when we first went through this. And I'm looking for advice too, maybe, if I'm
Yep.
missing it. I'm not sure we should reference the word service animal
Not there.
under this policy, because this is not a service animal policy.
Well, and you don't define a service animal.
correct.
I actually, going back, I agree with you on that. You could either reference, so on the page, the prior page, on page 2 up at the top, where it says, the very first paragraph, assistance animals do not meet the definition of service animals under the Americans with Disabilities Act. You could put a sentence in there that says service animals are addressed in detail in policy IMG, are addressed and defined, or are defined.
Yeah.
And reference that, and then cross-reference it, down here, put
That would be
cross-reference and put the policy in. And you could reference, you could keep that sentence in and say, individuals cannot bring an assistance animal onto the district campus that does not meet the definition of a service animal under policy IMG.
Well,
Cross-reference the policies. If you want to do it?
Well, so where I was going was that I actually think it kind of convoluted it.
Okay.
That's where I was thinking. I think we should leave service animals as service animals as it stands.
Yeah.
And this policy is for assistance animal.
Okay.
So I would actually rather avoid it.
Yeah.
Instead of referencing it in another to go to another.
Because an
I think-
assistance animal is not a service animal.
Without
Yeah, I
question.
think
So
you
I
just
really
strike
just think
that
it's a
sentence.
straightforward typo.
Yeah.
All right, so
So I think it
Just take
should.
the whole sentence out?
No, I just think take the word service out and put assistance in.
Oh,
strike,
yeah,
strike
okay.
service.
And just put assistance in.
Right.
Assistance animal. There you go.
I don't think we want to convolute it.
Got
That's
it.
the key.
Yeah, that makes
And-
sense.
And if someone has a service animal question, then we open up IMG.
Right.
If someone has an assistance animal question, we open up IMGA.
Keep it very clear that they're separate.
Do you think we should cross-reference it under here, or would
No.
that just confuse people?
I'm not sure we need to.
Confuse people?
But I would take legal, I don't know if we need to or not.
I think you might want to, just in case there are if there's any question, one versus the other, if you cross-reference them, then people will read one and read the other and just say, okay, do I have a service animal? Do I have an assistance animal? How is it defined within the district? I don't see any harm to cross, this is just my opinion. We could ask Dan his thoughts,
And we've
but
sent this to him,
Yeah.
and knowing that it was just a draft, it was
Right.
just the first read this evening,
Yeah.
but we've gone ahead and sent this to him.
I don't see any harm in cross-referencing. It would just point somebody who had
Yeah,
any
the advantage
questions
is they
to
just-
the
They
other.
point to each other. If you
They
open
kind
the
of-
wrong one,
yeah.
it points to the other. That's the only advantage of cross-referencing, so.
I also would reference the legal reference, the Americans with Disabilities Act, because you reference the Americans with Disabilities Act within the text of the policy, so I would just add that in as a legal reference at the bottom of this policy.
Okay.
Just being,
Which one, the disability?
Reference ADA.
yeah. And then I don't know if you took any of this from MASC policies, we usually do
Only
reference.
third hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was an amalgamation of several different
Then I don't think,
districts.
then it's an original compilation by the policy
Uniquely
subcommittee.
derivative
I'm
of
good
our
with
prior
that.
influences.
This was a lot of work, guys. I really appreciate the amount of thought that you put into it, absolutely, so. Yes, Bevy?
Could I go back to page 2 then?
Yeah.
Hit it.
So, assistance animals do not meet the definition of service animal.
Correct.
Do we leave that in?
Yes.
Yes.
Or is that confusing?
No.
All right, well, then I do
that's
definitely think
explicit
we
and
should
important.
Yeah, it kinda
cross-reference
spells it out.
the
Right.
service.
Yeah, I think you have
Yeah.
to.
Fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
I
Because
think,
then it's a definition,
Yeah.
they're each clear. If you read both of
All right.
them,
Is that where you want to reference IMG?
no. What we do is.
I
Or
think we
last
should
paragraph.
reference it in both places. I think if we put just a sentence in there that says service animals are
Addressed under policy.
addressed
IMG.
under policy IMG, and then just cross-reference it at the bottom to, I'm a T crosser and an I daughter, so.
No, but that's less
fine.
confusing for the reader.
What is less confusing. Thank you. I thought you
Yeah,
said it was
that would make
more
it less confusing.
Yeah, I think so. I think you just want to make sure people know where to look, because sometimes they might just stop at one and not know that there's another policy that relates to animals in schools. So you might have to look at them side by side, because somebody might have something that they define as a service animal that doesn't meet our definition, or as an assistance animal that doesn't meet our definition. And that's the whole point of having these policies, is to provide guidance. So, But I think this is a great first reading.
I've got a couple of things, if you don't mind.
Not
Do you
at
wanna
all.
go first?
I actually had a few things that Janet saw me cringing because I made a typo.
Just
A couple.
edits, yeah.
There are a couple of things
Yeah,
that
they're-
don't read like anything to me.
Yeah,
In the
they're-
very first paragraph,
Just a couple.
the second sentence is not a sentence.
Yep.
So I'm not sure what that was supposed to say.
Where are we, please?
The very first paragraph on page 1, second sentence, is not a sentence.
Can you just take the word "as" out?
I think it should say to provide.
Yeah, it needs a verb.
Shouldn't that be?
Basically.
Assistance animals are certified with their, yeah, too many certified.
To provide emotional and physical support.
That's what I thought. I had written to underneath there.
So that's
Certified to.
right.
Provide emotional, physical support.
But you need an R in there too. So assistance animal are certified with
That's
their.
exactly it.
Yes.
You need both.
Are
'cause the R is the
certified to
verb.
provide. Are certified to provide. I think you got it.
Aw, see, look at
It's
all
been
that.
a long time since I've
See?
English. Fine.
Our education system at work.
Second one.
Thank you.
Back in same page, under certification requirements, the very first sentence.
Yes.
Yeah.
That language doesn't
Make any sense?
read like anything.
No, it does.
So I'm not sure what is the handler team must be handler.
No, must be.
Must be certified by the handler animal team member agency is what it was supposed to say, I think.
Be.
Okay.
I think we're repeating the word certified and we left it out.
Yep.
The handler animal team must be certified by the handler animal team member agency.
Okay.
I think that was
That
the.
makes sense.
That was the intent, I believe.
Certified by the. Fine.
I
Second.
will say in their defense, they were working on 3
Yeah,
different policies.
no,
at the
that,
same time.
no, this,
Good call.
it's very hard
Too
to,
kind.
to take a
Far too
policy,
kind.
from nothing and build it. So these are just, it's just fine tuning it to make sure. I
Second.
still don't, that sentence still
After-
doesn't
well, I
make
think
sense to
after
me. I think-
agency, we
Okay.
need to say who or that, who has validated.
Something, who or that
I
has,
was thinking
yes,
that.
yeah,
Okay. Can I go on?
yes, please.
Under
Move to
under definitions, as we did with some of our other policies, instead of doing a gender.
Yeah.
For his, her, can we give the dog the benefit of the doubt as well, or the animal the benefit of the doubt and say their?
Where are you saying
handler?
it wrong?
Under definitions, first page, bottom, next to last line.
There's actually a his, her in the second
paragraph
too.
also.
So
Same thing.
yeah, strike any of the his, her.
I'm gonna add there.
I put the there,
There, that works.
Good call.
and where, up above again?
Right.
There, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Keep going.
Next question, on page
They are
2,
handled.
under standards and procedures, section 2, training and registration. Is it really the National Education for Assistance Animal Services, Inc.? I should have looked that name up before, because it fits the acronym, but it sounds like a strange name for an organization.
Are you looking at it
I think they're
already?
really trying to work it into needs.
Okay, I mean, I think it
No,
could
no,
be,
no.
but
But
it just
let's
doesn't
just
sound
look-
like it's a,
A real thing.
National Education for Assistance Dog Services.
Oh, because we said, you know what it is?
And
It's dogs. It's, for example, it's dogs.
Not animals.
That's a victim of find replace.
It's National Education, what comes up quickly is National Education for Assistance Dog Services.
Okay.
So animals gotta be dog.
okay.
Thank you. Also, number 1, under standards and procedures, 4th line, superintendent.
Does this assume
Not
that it's only a
capitalized.
dog?
Oh.
One's the superintendent or the superintendent.
That was a such as
No.
though. That sentence was just a such as though, right?
Yeah, that's
I
just
think
an
that was the case.
example of an
That's just an
organization.
example.
So you could
Yeah.
have a
It's okay.
miniature
Such
horse
as-
organization
It's just
that
a
was
typo.
certifying.
Yeah, that was my typo.
Miniature horses, which would
Oh,
be
which
kind of
were-
cool. They're so cute.
That's supposed to be small s.
Sorry.
Is it? No, it's, I thought it should be capital S.
Where, Brent, do you see that?
The S is
Number
the-
1, 4th line, first word, superintendent.
Oh, I see it. Thank you.
and then my last, I'm sorry.
Page 2. Oh. There, yeah.
Thank you.
So,
My last one is actually like not the T and I one. It is, and I'm sorry. The only thing that when you said that, Allison, I have to do it. I'm sorry. When you said you like to cross your T's and dot your I's, and I just wanted to say, well, I'm the little teapot then. But then I
If
thought
you
that
feel like
opens
you
up
wanna
a whole
sing
can
that,
of being
go
short and
right
stout
ahead.
kind of things. So we won't go there.
Yeah.
The insurance, number 5, top of page 3.
Yeah.
We already have that insurance. Does the town have that insurance? Do you know what the cost of that insurance is? Is that out? I don't realize that's outside of the policy.
No, we saw stuff like that. This is something to check and why we want
Yeah.
to cross-check with lawyers and
Yeah,
people.
right.
Because that particular verbiage like that crops up across towns, but if people who handle that end of the store can say we can get rid of it or replace it, that'd be great.
Okay. Well,
the
particularly if
handler
we have
having-
a pilot program ready to go, that's a
I will say, we had a student, a high school student who's now a senior, who did this as part of her AP research or AP seminar class last year where she pitched this to us. She's done a lot of that research, and a lot of the information comes from Walpole. So I think we can pretty quickly get our hands on some estimates about what that would be.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to make a point. So I'll just make it with Sarah Scardacci is the student who presented this to our admin team with all of the work that she had done, and she did a fabulous job. So I just wanted to do that shout out to her too.
Yes.
Well, it also may be beneficial to talk to the interplay between the town and the police department.
As far
Because
as where that
they do
insurance-
programming, yeah, exactly. What part of the town insurance covers that, or does it have to be under the police department for their animals?
Right.
But thank you, Rob, good catch.
and that's all that I had.
Thank you, Rob. This is a great first reading. Excellent.
I'd like to make a motion that we move this assistance animals policy IMGA forward to a second reading.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? 500. We'll move this forward to a second reading at our next meeting, which I believe is next Monday.
Sometimes
Yeah,
after we
but
vote, can we discuss that, whether we have it or not?
Yes, we can discuss it, but we're trying to move this policy forward and get it taken care of so that we can move forward.
To our
with it.
next,
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
we'll move forward to our next meeting.
Well, yes, which is, well, okay. Well,
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Dr. Berdos was great to supply both Brent and I with IMG, just so we'd have good perspective on everything. And I just happened to pick up when I read it, that on the second page of IMG, it mentions guide or assistance dogs. We may need to take a look at it. It's under the service animals category, which is a good standalone category, that's no issue, but in the title, it mentions assistance dogs, and so I don't know if that causes us for some pause.
I think we should clean it up if we can.
we could clean it up because,
I think I would have to just go through this a couple more times to see
Yeah.
where it references it, because when I quickly ran over it, I didn't see him actually referencing assistance dogs much
Until you get to that
until
part.
you get to the title.
Right.
So I'm kind of thinking it might be a very quick fix, that it's not referenced and just cross out assistance and be done with it.
yeah.
Shouldn't
It's,
hold
it's,
up.
it's in the last sentence of policy IMG too.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's referenced as guide or assistance dogs, for, with, yes. So the assistance of a service animal, guide or assistance
Yeah.
dog. So it's.
It may be
it's
okay, too.
Assistance in a different way,
I get
but.
it.
Synonymous with service, like.
Right,
yeah.
yeah, so.
Yeah,
But
I just
it
couldn't
merits
decide.
thinking about.
I
We
was-
should make it as clear as possible
Yeah.
Agreed.
to the reader, seeing as we're now going to cross-reference the two.
Especially with the title of this one being assistance animals.
Yeah.
So I think this kind of jumps out as that's what it's for, and then you got this little reference,
Clarify
and
it.
that kind of goes, okay.
Right.
So,
And I think that's part of the shift that you've seen
Exactly.
over the years.
Yes.
agreed, totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah, yeah, because the other policy was adopted in 2011, so, it's evolved over 9 years. It's just, the therapy dogs or assistance animals in that respect are fairly new to the landscape. Thank you, that's
You
exactly
even see
right.
them in the commercials, and we're gonna try something new today. If you've seen that commercial where
Yes.
the therapy dog comes to the
Yes.
hospital.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, they're great.
All right. Janet, did we vote? We voted, right, on the
Moving it forward?
to move it forward? We did. Sorry, we spiraled off on further discussion, and then I just wanted to make sure. Okay, great, thank you. All right, we have another policy matter coming up next, and that is, no, we don't. We did our policy. We've got the Biko quarterly report. I think I'm about done for tonight. So, Dr. Parados,
in there.
can you, yeah, I know. It's not even 9 o'clock. I'm getting old. It's, we have the January 2020 Biko collaborative report.
Yes, so this is the quarterly report
you.
as being a member district. I serve on the board to represent Foxborough, and so this is something that we share with you each quarter. And just a couple of things to point out was something that I referenced earlier, is that, first of all, Biko, their purpose is to enroll students from member districts such as ourselves. There are non-member districts too, to provide that specialized programming that we're not able to provide in the district. So we have students that are part of the Biko program. And their referrals for new students have increased by 37% since 2017. And I think that speaks to the out-of-district numbers that you see. You know, we'll have students that have moved, and it's happened this year, that have moved into our district that are in the Biko program, and they're already in the Biko program. Or we have students that, you know, we've referred, depending on the needs of the program. But I just thought that was interesting, and that's something that we've definitely talked about at our board meetings each month. And there's other districts that are wanting to become members of the collaborative as well, because it's advantageous for them. The next two bullets that you see on the update really relate to professional development, and that's part of their strategic plan, where they've really increased the number of professional development opportunities for member districts, and they've included presentations. For instance, you will see one of the panel discussions they had is from Nuttall, McAvoy, and Joyce. That's our attorney from for special education, where they hosted a panel discussion for member districts that's going to take place on that took place on October 30th on vaping, substance abuse, and the responsibility of school districts. And then, as far as other workshops, there will be an upcoming one, a legal workshop that'll take place at the end of February. They continue to offer the SEI, which is the Sheltered English Immersion courses for teachers and for administrators, which is something that we have to have when you have English language learners in your district. And so they've provided many opportunities in close proximity for teachers and administrators to take the course. And then the other part right now is we've begun to put in motion, because Dr. Arlene Grubert, who's the executive director, she's retiring at the end of the school year.
She is?
Yes, so we'll be looking for a new executive director for Biko for next school year.
Okay. Well, thank you for the update. Do we need to vote on this? I can't remember. You just provide it.
I
We
just
don't have to
provide it.
approve it. Right. Wonderful. Okay.
Accepted by consensus.
Yes. There you go.
Appreciatively accepted.
So, moving on to other matters. Allison, would you like to start?
Sure. As you know, we have begun to conduct our search looking for a replacement for Dr. Einsel, our Director of Student Services. And our school committee representation has been Rob and Brent.
Thank you.
And our committee is underway. We had, help me out, see if you remember, how many applicants?
22.
22.
Excellent.
15 made it to the first
Wow.
pass. Right?
Great.
And our goal this week is to have our top 6.
We're going through and doing our process to analyze, so we are
So
underway.
there were 22, and now there are 15?
Soon to be 6.
Soon
Well,
to be
we'll
6.
try, we'll see. We all bring our 6, and then we sometimes, it might be a few more than that, we'll see
Plus
how
or
it goes.
minus.
Yes, this is their first time being on one of our search committees,
Oh,
so.
I was so excited both of you wanted to do it. The process is very interesting.
I think they're excited to have us, actually.
Very.
I'm quite sure that they are.
Yes.
Sharon, you miss me, right?
Dr. Mello runs a mean committee, man. It's great. Very efficient.
Yeah.
It's the process. We've had the process. It's been a great process.
How many members are on your search committee? Aside from the 2 esteemed school committee members.
You know, I'm running 2 committees. I believe 14 is on that one.
Uh-huh. Yes. Excellent. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Janet.
Great.
We also, so that was last Tuesday, we began that committee. And then on Thursday, we began our committee for the replacement of Noelle Hendrickson as our K-8 Math Science Director. You may remember that she is relocating to Denver. So we had one meeting, and we were very excited today that she shared with us that her plans have changed and she will not be moving. She will not be relocating. I knew you'd be thrilled.
That's great.
we're all thrilled. So this afternoon, I did send a letter out to the committee and thank them for their service, but we don't have to run that search, so we are very excited.
Well, we're very glad to hear that Noelle will be able to continue with the school
That is-
district. She
yeah,
certainly
that is
started,
an asset.
hit the
Best
ground
news of
running.
the
Yeah,
night.
yeah, that's fantastic.
And that allows us to pivot now to focus our attention on the search for the next ELA Social Studies Title I director. So we will get that up and running in the next couple of weeks.
Excellent. Yes. Okay.
Busy.
Great. All right. Dr. Berdos?
I would just like to say publicly that under Allison's leadership and her professional development committee on last Friday, we had an amazing day of learning for professional development. And it was choose your own adventure, to where there was choice. One of the workshops was not a choice, it was a must for all classroom teachers, and that was provided by our Foxborough Fire Department and our continued focus on school safety, where all teachers were trained in Stop the Bleed. And that was wonderfully received, because it's a matter of accidents can happen with an X-Acto knife in an art classroom, or it can happen on a playground. You want everyone to be prepared. And so out of the fire department, we had many of them here that they provided a great workshop for teachers where they were able to be hands-on and practice, and that was great. But all of the different adventures that teachers were choosing were based on current focus areas and initiatives. And we had many teacher leaders that were presenting, and some that had not presented in the past. And I think that they maybe got a little bug of, I can do this and I really have something to offer.
Excellent.
But it was something very, very different, and it was a lot of work under Allison, and it just was fabulous.
Great.
Well, the PD committee did a wonderful job, and as Dr. Berto said, a lot of our own people presenting, which was a vision that we've had for a long time, and just creating the opportunity for that, and to see how well it went was fantastic. We also had some other people come and join us that were also very well received, and we tried to recruit them now to come to our summer institute, which our PD committee will start planning next month. So, very excited. Yeah, it was a good day.
How many folks are on your PD committee?
Good question.
Or roughly, I mean, what's the makeup?
20 maybe.
Okay.
We have representation from all the schools, and then admin, special education, myself, the curriculum directors. So it's been really helpful to have all the different perspectives there, and we have educational assistants, so everybody goes back to their stakeholders. Occasionally, we'll send out a needs assessment and a survey just to see what people are looking for. But as Dr. Berto said, we've been doing so much on equity, universal design for learning, technology, a lot, SEL, a lot of the sessions were just so naturally aligned with what we did. And with people being able to choose, they really got to say, okay, this really aligns with my personal goals and my personal needs where I need to grow. And that was the bulk of the feedback was, wow, I really got so much out of this day. And we also tried shorter sessions, which we hadn't done in the past, and those went over very well also. So, yeah, we're excited. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you. So, and that is our last professional development day of the year.
It is, for in-house PD,
in-house,
and then we'll start for our summer institute, which is optional.
Right. Yes. But also, well, a lot of our teachers participate.
A lot of our teachers, and a lot of teachers from all across the
I know.
Commonwealth. Yes.
And I'd like to commend you to have them just prior to school opening and throughout the fall up to this point, because all of the teachers have it for the rest of the year, rather than scheduling them in May.
Yes, you're right.
When they're ready to head for close down. It's
We saw that on a
very-
lot of feedback. A lot of people said, I can go and use this in my classroom on Monday. They were very excited about
And
that.
that is why we schedule the way we
Yeah,
schedule.
yes, that's very conscientious scheduling, and I applaud you for that.
Well, you're part of that too when we build our calendar, so
That's
thank
right.
you.
And our teachers as well. It's
Yes,
great that they do
they were great.
professional development the week before school starts, and then we get our PD in October, and then in January. So that's
The
good.
students are the winners.
Absolutely. And the teachers too. They're very energized by it.
Anyone else have anything for other matters? Bill?
Actually, I was at two of the elementaries a week ago, and in one, the police department was serving the Taylor kids.
Oh, lunch.
Lunch, and then it happened to be at the borough at the same day, and the fire department was doing lunch there. So I thought that was kind of nice
Yeah.
to see,
No,
and
it's
the kids really seemed to
fantastic.
enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great.
And just a quick update on the The Borough project, obviously, is going very well. If you've been by recently, there actually is a structure now.
Yeah.
Didn't exist a week ago. And we do have the MSBA coming out for one of their quarterly meetings tomorrow morning.
Right.
Which typically is a review of the process, but I think we're in pretty good shape there. And so far, funding-wise, we've already received 1.3 million from
The state.
the state, and we just put in another application for another 500,000. So that seems to be moving very well as well. So.
That's great. Thank you for the update.
That's exciting.
Brent, do you have anything?
No.
Beverly?
Well, this is really a question for Dr. Berdos and Mr. Eutner. Do we have enough on an agenda to have an immediate meeting again next week on Monday?
We actually do.
Yeah.
Well,
we
'cause
actually
sometimes
do.
we don't, but we need to.
I don't think
We
it will
have
be
talked
as
about
full
it,
of
so,
its
yeah.
agenda.
It's not
but-
going to be a long agenda, but we do have the concussion policy. We want to bring forward the assistance animals policy and try to button that up so that Mr. Stanton can, and Dr. Berdos can move forward. And there were a couple other
Update on
items.
planning for
Yes,
success.
the update on planning for success. And was there something else?
There was something else.
It was
in-
probably the update on the search committees,
Yeah.
but we did it this evening, given
Right.
the
Yeah.
recent change, turn of events.
And then
Think
there was
there was
something
something
else, I can't recall.
No,
but-
that, but just, you know, I mean, this is the, if there is not, this is the meeting where we have to.
I know we have done it in the past, but then we wouldn't have a meeting until the end of February, and that seems like a relatively long gap to go without meeting. So I think if we can take care of these items and have a short meeting next week, it's probably for the best.
Okay. And the policies, it's great to get the policies moved forward.
Yes, well, the policy committee's been working very hard, and the concussion policy is ready to go for the next meeting.
I think it'll be ready for next week.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I would like to just mention, since our last meeting, Laura Sobel has passed, and she was a longtime teacher assistant and had great impact on the children in the Ahern School, and both of her daughters are FHS graduates who contributed a lot to music program and were in my musicals. So, the celebration of her life will be this Saturday.
Thank you for sharing that. Chris, Kiara, do you have anything you want to share with us? Nope. Okay. I just wanted to note two things. The Hockomock Swim Championships are this Friday for boys. Chris is going to be swimming. And Saturday for girls.
Thursday for diving too. We
And
have one
Thursday for
diver.
diving. Thank you, Chris, for adding that in.
Where will
Good luck to Annika.
They're crazy.
The diving is at Massasoit Community College, and then both guys and girls swimming is at Milford High School.
Yeah.
Okay.
Swim fast.
Yeah.
I'll try.
Thank you for remembering the diving. I appreciate that. And I had one other thing, that Foxborough High School Rotary Interact Club is sponsoring a blood drive with the American Red Cross this Saturday from 9 to 2 at St. Mary's Church. So the kids run the blood drive. It's a great opportunity to give here in town, and you can sign up online. So just wanted to give them a plug because they're doing good things. All right, that's it. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Brent.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of adjourning? 500. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.